Hey guys, welcome to this little mushroom tutorial. So the start of this one we're going to be sketching out the mushroom in just a sketchbook and then transferring it onto art paper. If you want to go straight onto the art paper, that's also an option, but if you don't want to do the sketching, the line art is attached to the tutorial on Patreon, so just access that one and put the outline down and fast forward through. But I really hope that you like this one. Remember to put the outcomes on the Facebook group and let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to do is just draw this little mushroom. So I do have the image printed out next to me, and I've also got a colour on the screen in front of me, just because it's a little bit easy to see sometimes. So we're just going to sketch this down and then transfer it onto some art paper, but if you don't want to do any of this sketching section, just go onto Patreon and you can get the line art that I've already completed. Well, you know, I will complete and upload with it, but for now let's just get started on this cute little mushroom. So what we're going to do is have a look at the shapes that we can see. So this sort of, we're going to do a rectangle for this sort of section, and then there's like a little dome shape up here and some domey shapes down here, and then the stalk, and that shouldn't be too tricky, but it's also tricky to get the proportions correct. So what you can do is use your pencil. My pencil's really small at the moment. So go from here to here, and then from here to here. So you can see the width of the top is about as long as the length. So it doesn't matter what size you're doing, you just need to make sure that these proportions are correct. So it can be really small, but you just need to make sure that they're all making sense. So we'll start over here and just doing some little lines, little rectangle like this. So we're not worrying about like the actual shape of the mushroom or anything at the moment, just literal solid shapes. And then this one sort of goes down like this, and then up like this to the end. And then from the middle it goes up here about like that. So then we can go shape like this. And then around like this, gets a little bit higher on this side. So remember, just use a really light point, a really light sketching line, and just find the line. So really light sketching is what I'm trying to say. And then it goes out a little bit, a bit pointy on this end. Up like that. So then, like I said before, we want this to be the same length. So mine is around about like this. So this is going to go out a little bit more. Like that. So around like that. And then we want to make it from there till about here is where the end is going to be. And so he's a little bit bent. So around about from here, and then go down like this, and then we're going down on a bit of a slant, not too slanty, and then it's a bit thicker at the bottom, like that. So just a roundabout. Okay, and then we'll put in some of the shapes. So start to map in where this lid changes shape. So it goes up a little bit like this, and down a little bit here, over to this side, underneath a little bit, and then over like this, up. That's where that shiny section is. Like this. In like that. And then trying to get a little bit more precise with our lines. Okay, so then this goes down like this. Across like that. There's a little bit of a dint here. Like that, and then down here. Like this. And down like this. And then we can put in this little tree next to it. You can also get the kneaded eraser and erase a couple of these lines. Now that we don't need them. Like that. So this little bit of tree sort of starts here. And remember, we're just sort of, to start with, we're just drawing the shapes, and pay attention to whereabouts the tree goes in relation to the stalk. So it stops around about here, and it starts around about there, so we can just connect these like a little long skinny rectangle. And then leaves go up like this to the side, up, and then not touching each other. This one goes over a little bit further. This one is around here. Up here. So then it goes up like this, a little bit spiky, little leaf here, like that. Okay, and then the next one goes to around about here. And then this little bunchy section is around about here. And it's behind this stalk. And then this one goes to about here. And then just adding some of those little leaves. It's not touching the stalk on this side, the mushroom on this side. Little fairy bits. Like this. Like that. And then this bit comes out to here. Over here. Some little fuzzy bits in. Cool, and then now we can just make this a little bit more uneven. And then just add in a couple of little bits here and there. Cool, and I think that will do for the outline. So now what we can do is just get our tracing paper, put some on top, and draw over it. And then we're going to have to flip it over, draw it again, because we need to reverse the image. Oh, perfect. So I've got this little bit of tracing paper, and we're going to just tape it down so that it doesn't move. Like that, and then we can go over with the graphite pencil. So just doing the general outline. And there's our outline. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to use some carbon paper to put the outline on my art page. If you don't have any of that, just flip this over, draw it one more time, and then put it on your page, scribble on the back, and it'll get the outline on your page. So you don't have to use the carbon paper, I just have it here, so I'm going to use it. I haven't used it for so long because it's not really my favourite. This is Strathmore Bristol Colour pencil paper, and then you just put the grey side down of the carbon paper on your page, and I'm also going to stick it down because why not? And then we can put the outline on here, and then get a pen, and we're just going to go over it again to push the carbon paper onto the page. So to judge how hard you need to push, just do like a little bit at a time, like nice and lightly. So that was really pretty light, and it's still come up pretty good. It's hard to see. In my experience, I've found that this way of doing the outline, it really sticks in the page, so you really don't want to go too heavy with it. So I'm just doing it quite lightly. So that one's a little bit too faint, so we'll go a little bit more. Like this. It's hard to know where I've done because my pen isn't loving this paper, but you don't need the pen to go on this page clearly, you just need the pressure of it pushing it through. There you go, you can see that. Like that. And remember, like, however you want to get your outline on the page, you can just sketch straight onto your art paper if you like. You don't have to do this. Any way you want to do your art is up to you. There's no right or wrong way. It's just what works for you, really. Okay. I think that's all of it. Make sure we get all the little bits. Cute. So we got the outline on the page. So now we can start to colour it in. Just need to pick some colours. And the good thing about this sort of carbon paper is you can just use it again. So we've only used like that little bit, and you can still see, you know, you could go over that whole section again and use it. I was also going to add as well this sort of paper, the transfer paper graphite. I just got this from like Officeworks in Australia. You can just put this in the printer as well. So you print your outline onto the white section and then just put it on your art paper and trace on the back. So it's really handy like that to be able to do outline that way. Alright, so let's get started with this little mushroom. We're going to stick to the 60 set of Polychromos pencils for this one. So we're just going to have to improvise if we need to. So I'm going to get rid of a little bit of this outline, and we'll just do the top of the mushroom first. Gonna be the trickiest bit. So we're going to go in with the warm grey 2. Just around the outline, doing a really nice soft layer across the bottom. Do some little lines sort of going up just to start this sort of line texture. So that sort of goes up to around here. And over here it's quite light, so we're just going to do like a thin layer really softly, holding your pencil on the side pretty far back helps to prevent you like putting too much pressure down. Over here they sort of go around like in a circular, a curved motion. Nice light layer. Through here they start to get sort of straight. I'm not going to stress too much about the actual placement of each line because that's going to kill us. We're going to be here for years. Just try and pay attention to sort of how close and how far away from each other they are, and just mimicking that. Like that. And we'll go up here a little bit. So for this outline, there is a bit of a dip in it, and this is the problem with the graphite paper that I use. It transfers over, but it's kind of hard to get up. So we'll just make it in that direction. So we're just putting a little bit of a hump on the top. And then really lightly over the top, because there's a lot of lighter sections up here. Really lightly on the side, just doing a nice base layer of this. And then let's do a little bit of the cream, which is the yellow colour. So really lightly on the side, glazing it over here. So we're going to skip this sort of section because it's where it's quite light. There's little light sections. Just go through doing a couple of little lines to add that sort of golden texture. Over here, and then it's quite yellow sort of up here. Perfect. And then let's get some of the I picked the middle purple pink. Yeah, so I think we'll use that just really lightly on the side up here. There's a bit of a pink sort of texture. It's really lightly. Up here. Goes a little bit over here across this section. That. And then like kind of a little bit up here. Really light bits. Okay, and then we can get the light ultramarine. And we're going to do some blue up here. So you can see there's sort of like a really deep blue colour in the middle. And then up the top it's sort of a lighter blue colour, so just a little bit of shading up there. Like that. Okay, and then we can get some of the burnt ochre. This is our sort of darker orange colour. So going around the edge and then into these little lines. So just sweeping them up. Over over here. Over here. Bit more of a softer texture here. Blend that down. Okay. And so around about here is where it starts to get whiter, sort of down the bottom. So we'll do some little sort of dots of this, just sort of breaking these little lines up a bit. Make this bit a bit darker. Still across here, it's pretty dark, and then the lines sort of start to go back up here. Like that, and then holding your pencil on the side and just blending up here. Up here. In the middle, starts to get a little bit lighter around the middle section here. Over here, some more little lines. Over this way. Some are thicker in the middle. And then the light in between them starts to get a bit thinner. The more you get over this section. It's pretty orange up here. Thicken some of these out. Okay, and then up here, get a little bit thicker. And of course we need to get a little bit brighter with the orange. Up here, so what we're going to do is probably pick some of the cadmium orange. Need to find it. Here it is. Just need to get a pencil extender. It's only little. Okay, I'm just gonna give this a bit of a sharpen. Okay, so what we can also do is go back over again with the cream to get some of it a little bit more yellow. Up here needs a little bit more saturation. So this is where the light section is, those little dots of white, so we're going to skip that with the cream. And then it comes down here, and then through the middle section here is where it's white. So go back over with the cream. There's a little bit of a pinker section in here too. So we're going with the middle purple pink. Slightly. And here. Let's get some of the cadmium orange. Then we can go over these lines and then just glaze it down a little bit. It's like a darker line here. So you still want to be able to see these yellow, bright yellow sections coming through. So make sure to keep some little gaps in there. And then over here, like that, and then we can glaze over it nice and softly. Okay, and then let's get some of the burnt sienna, burnt ochre. I can't talk. So going with a sharper point. Oh, I've got black on my hand, and then here. And then here. Blend this down. And so this is where the white section sort of starts. So we'll do a couple of the darker lines. And then orange, cadmium orange in between. And then up here, we've got to get a little bit darker. So let's try a little bit of the purple pink. See how it's helping get a little bit darker. But I think we need maybe try burnt sienna. Better. So up here, and then go down a couple of the lines. Okay, and then over here some more of the cadmium orange. And then so glazing over a little bit and then going darker in the lines. Going down the lines and leaving this middle section out. And then here, keeping out of this middle section, go back over with the cadmium orange and glaze this down a little bit. Shading over the top here. Like that. And then over this section we just need to glaze over the cadmium orange. Up here. And then over here with the cadmium orange. So we're going to thin some of these white lines down. Up here. Some little dots of orange here. So we'll go through, thicken up some of these lines. Okay, and then up here there's like a darker bit here. So we'll put a bit of orange in to start that off. Okay, and then here, the burnt ochre, just darkening some of these lines. Some little dots in between where the highlight section is. And then cadmium orange across the bottom. And then some burnt ochre again, making these a bit darker, a bit thicker. And this way. Okay, and there's a little bit more pink over here. Up here, so the middle purple pink. And then do some little dots here of it. And some little dots up here. Dot up here. And some coming around. And over here we'll do some little dots. And sort of blend them out a little bit. Up here. And then burnt ochre again. Just blending this down. So this section we need to bring these down a little bit because they're at the bottom. Cadmium orange. Okay, and then let's go in with the burnt sienna. So over here, just where it sort of comes off the bottom. And then just lightly shading up here, getting a little bit darker. And then sort of like on the right hand side of each of these darker stripes, we'll do a little bit of this and then blending it out. So you want to be able to see that light section next to it. And then cadmium orange, go over this. Up here. And then burnt sienna again, getting darker, some of these lines. Doing some little dots in between these highlight sections. Up here, burnt cadmium orange. Okay, and then we can go in and also do like a couple of little dots of orange. And then let's get some of the purple violet. And we're going to go up here in this sort of section. And then going lightly over the orange with this, so just really, really lightly. Like this. And then cadmium, what is it, burnt ochre? Going over this. Up to here. And then this blue colour, we're going with a little bit more of the ultramarine. So we're going to do like a little line and then just sort of make like little lines just to make it look a little bit like there's little details in it. Down here, purple violet, over this orange section, light ultramarine. Can erase a little bit of this, and then let's go some of the burnt sienna up here, just doing some little gentle shading and then some little lines in here, little dots, and then sort of blend them out. Some little lines in here with the burnt sienna. And we'll get some of the middle purple pink. And then we can get some of the warm grey too again and just go over this, just to help sort of blend it down, darken it up a bit, smooth out the paper. Let's go some more of the cream as well in here. And burnt ochre. Up into here. Burnt sienna. And then ultramarine, light ultramarine, doing some dots up here. Darker in here. And then we'll get some of the purple violet again, just doing some little dots up here, like little lines and shading them out, blending them out. Little dots here. Okay, a little bit more of the cadmium orange. Blend this down a bit. Up in here. Little dots in here. We can also get some of the Polychromos white pencil and blend down this top section. Help to whiten up some of these. And then let's get let's get the dark indigo. I haven't used this pencil for a while, but it's really small. Give it a little sharpen. Okay, and then we'll do some little little dots, so just like little, you know, and then blend them out like that. Like that. Go blend lightly over this. And then let's get some of the walnut brown and do the same sort of thing over here in this pinky purpley section. Walnut brown over here. Blend it down. Do some little lines in here. Go in with the cadmium orange. Some more of the dark indigo. Some little dots. And then white. Blend it in. And we can also get like our soft white pencil. Do some little dotty boys over. Over here. Blend that down. Like that. And dark indigo. Lightly blend over that. White. Let's go a little bit more dark indigo up here. And I think we need more pink. Okay, so the issue that I'm having with this is that the paper just isn't blending the way that I want it to. Like, I'm going over with layer after layer and you can still just see all these little white bitties in here. So what I'm going to do is use my Finesse Colour Pencil Blender pen and just blend it down really nicely. If your paper is blending fine, don't feel like that you need to do this. I'm just having frustration with mine. So that's why I want to give it a go. If you have like a Zest-it pencil blender, or you want to try going in with a blending stump or any other way of doing it, that's fine. You don't have to do it this way. These blender pens are good sort of for small areas. Like you wouldn't want to blend a background with it because they're, you know, only small and they really cover small areas at a time. But it also has like a pen tip at the other end, which I never really use, to be honest. Up here. And then I usually just rub it off on a bit of paper because it sometimes gets a bit of colour on it. Up here. Okay. You don't want to go into the white sections too much because after you blend it with the blender pen, it's not coming back up, pretty much. And this paper that I'm using is pretty thin, so you don't want to do too much layer. You can sort of, I don't think you can see on this angle, but you can sort of see the paper starting to like buckle. As if it's wet because it's just a bit thinner, which is nothing wrong with that, but it'll dry just fine. Blending this side. Just blend. It's so annoying. Okay. So while we wait for that to dry, we can just continue on with the stalk. Okay, so it's pretty orangey, so we're going to go in with a nice base layer of the cadmium orange. Actually, what we might do is put these tree bits in first. Tree bits. That's exactly what I said. So we've got the light green, warm grey 2, I'm just trying to figure out which of my pencils are in this chromium green opaque, because I've got some other colours here that aren't in the 60 set, and I'm just trying to stick to the 60 set. So we'll do the cold grey 2, warm grey 2, warm, and get our kneaded eraser. Up here. And then we'll go in here, the warm grey 2, nice thin stalk. There's a little bit of a browny orangey tone, so we use the burnt ochre at the bottom here, just on the right side and the left side. Try to stay out of the middle. Like this. Might put a tiny glaze of the middle purple pink. It's a bit of a pinky tone. And then up the top it gets a little bit greener, so we use the light green. Really light. And get the Polychromos white. And whatever that is, here it is. Blend it down. Burnt ochre, and just put in a little bit of couple little lines, little dots. So then up here with the light green, go here. Just go over this. The line sort of goes up here and around here. So this is just our base layer, so just really lightly. We don't want it to be this bright green. And then other side. Here. This way. Okay, and then we'll get the chromium green opaque, and I just need to sharpen this because it's really little details here. So now we're just going to go over the outline pretty much, just really lightly, just where you can see those darker areas. Then here. Don't stress too much about, you know, the shapes and all of the really little details. No one's going to know if, you know, this leaf looks like that or this or anything like that. It's just a roundabout. And then we can go in with the white, blend it down. And then just to darken it up a little bit, maybe use some of the earth green yellowish. Just going to go over this, leave some sort of gaps in there, like not a full shade, just to have some darker and lighter sections. And then same thing on this side. Just going around a little bit. Of the outline, back over with the earth green yellowish. Blending down with the white. Okay, and then we'll get some of the earth green yellowish. Make sure you have a pretty sharp point. And we're just going to do those little leafy fairy bits you can see. Like that. Little fairy bits. chromium green opaque, just make some of these bits a little bit darker. Okay, and then let's go through and do the stem. Maybe we'll do this bit underneath first. So this colour is like a light, really light burnt ochre. So what we can do is put a little bit of cream down and then go over that lightly. And that's the sort of colour that we want. Maybe with a tiny bit of the cadmium orange. Yes. So that's what we're going to do for the middle sections. So go in with the cream really lightly. See what I mean about the outline just not coming up? It's just the graphite paper really sticks it in there. So just really lightly. Up here. Same on this side. Okay, and then on the side with your burnt ochre, so holding it pretty far back, and then just glazing it down really lightly. So just really, really lightly. If you need to get it a bit darker, just go over with a couple more layers. We're sort of barely even touching the page, just really, really lightly. And then same over here. Like that. Up here. So then underneath that line is going to be that white section. Same as here, and then it goes up a little bit. Okay, and then with the colour can we use? Maybe just the burnt sienna. So make sure you have a sharp point. And then we're just going to put these lines in. So at the bottom of the top section here, there's a bit of a line where this top section stops. Okay, and then so next to this stalk, a little bit comes out here, and then just try and mimic the shapes that you can see underneath. Again, this is one of those things, no one's going to be counting the stripes and how many there are and saying There's usually more stripes than that, or not enough. So just do what you think, space them out. Try and make some sections of it a little bit lighter or darker than others. Like that. And they start to get a bit thinner. Every now and again, like there's a straight line, and next to that a little bitty again. And then here. Okay. And then with the burnt ochre, I'll just shade at the bottom that's a little bit darker through here. And put a bit of the white in this section. And then some of the cadmium orange. Just lightly over that to orange it up a bit. Okay, and then we'll get the walnut brown. Make sure you have a pretty sharp point on your pencil. Just broke my pencil, but it's sharp anyway. And then we can just go over and do a couple of little darker lines on some of these. Just like little sections, not over the whole things. Just adds like a little bit more detail. Burnt ochre. And then lightly over that, and then you can go over with the white, blend it down, make it nice and smooth. Okay, even blending the white on some of the brown bits. Okay, and then this other side, same sort of thing. So the burnt ochre, they're pretty straight on this side. So going up like that, and then around here it gets pretty dark. That. Okay, and then burnt sienna. Okay, and then I think we need a little bit of red in here. Maybe some madder. See how you can see just like a little bit of red under here. A little bit redder than what the burnt sienna will give us. And then go in on the side with our burnt ochre. Get a bit darker, especially at the bottom. Up here. Walnut brown. So just at the bottom here, we'll do a bit of the walnut brown. And then here, there. Okay, pretty cute. Then we can get some of the white, blend it down. Burnt sienna. Okay, so now let's go into the stalk. So we're going to do a base of the burnt ochre. So just going in around the leaves. So for the where we're going around the leaves, so it goes like that. When you're going around the leaves, you can always go like leave a bit of a gap around them. Don't go right up towards them, and we can sort of do that towards the end or that, because if you go over them, it's really hard to fix it. But yeah, don't be, worried about leaving a bit of a gap. You can definitely do that. Burnt ochre, something nice, and then we'll go in with the cream, especially through the middle. Cadmium orange. Add in that oranger tone. Okay, and then let's go a little bit of the matter. Here, and then just sort of where you can see it's like a little bit redder. So through here. And here. Let's go burnt sienna. Here. Getting darker over here. Do some like lines in here. Darker up here. Up here, do some little lines. Let's go with the warm grey 2. No, let's go with the cream. Blend this down a little bit. Towards the top, let's do some of the warm grey 2, because see how it's a little bit more of a greyer tone than a yellow tone. Walnut brown, so darker on this side. Lines up here. Blending through here, light layer. And then burnt sienna. Up here, okay, then let's get some more orange involved. Oranger. And then a little bit more red, madder. Alright, and then my paper's annoying, so I'm going to blend it again. But if you feel like yours is doing fine, just leave it. But yeah, just blending it nicely. Go sort of into the darker areas, clean it off, and then the lighter areas, because it will sort of blend in. Okay, and then the bottom of this stalk is a little bit grey and brown, so we'll go in with the cold grey 2, warm grey 2. Warm grey 2. I always mix up my colds and warms when I'm explaining. It's just a thing that happens. So just when you're putting the base layer down, make sure you're sort of going in the direction. If you do a couple across, that's fine, but then sort of by the end, try and pull it down like that, so it's going down. And then feeling a little bit of a pink vibe. So let's do a really light layer of the middle purple pink. So holding your pencil really far back on the side. Just sort of touching the page, we just want like a hint of a pink tone. And then we need to get a sharp walnut brown, which my sharpener isn't loving it. Okay, so then down here, whoop. And on the left hand side it's like a bit of a darker line. And then there's like a darker section here. And then darker on this side, going around that little stem. And so there's some like lighter bits in here. So we're going to do like sort of like scrappy texture. So sort of do some lines across and then up and down. Try and make it sort of gappy. Down here. Up here. Like that. And then sort of little lines here. Up here. Then let's get some of the burnt ochre, bring some of this orange colour down. Like that. Over this section. A little bit over here. Bring it down this side. So leave a couple of gaps of light. Like this. Burnt sienna. So we're going to do some lines like we did at the bottom, just up here, but make sure to space them out because we want to see this light texture coming through. Like that. There's a thicker, darker section over here. So we'll do some burnt ochre. And then the walnut brown. Up here. Like that. And then, so there's colour in here. It's a bit reddy, so we'll do the burnt sienna. So you want to space these sort of lines out pretty far so that you can see that light sort of texture coming through. Up here. There. Here. Okay, and then we'll blend over with the cold grey too. The warm grey too. Make it nice and smooth. Every time. Blend it in a little bit. And then we'll get some of the walnut brown. And we're going to try and put in some sort of harsher lines. So make sure to rotate your pencil so that you're sort of using the sharpest point. Down here. Like that. So you want to be able to see those light bits coming through. This way. And then there's kind of like a little roots. Yeah. Okay. Pretty cute. Let's just do a bit of the burnt ochre down here. Down here as well, just so the colours sort of connect and continue down. You can do a bit of the madder lake. Madder. Okay, and then we can get the white pencil, do a couple little lines in here, go over the stalk again. We could do some of the walnut brown. Like that. Okay, get some of the white, do some little lines here and there. Okay, then let's do these little leaves, little bitty bitties. So warm grey 2. Go up here, this one is at the front. And then the light green. Just going around doing some of the shapes. over here. Light green, a little bit down there, and then it's a little bit orange, so we'll do some of the burnt ochre on the right hand side. And in the middle, blend it down with the warm grey too. Go in with some of the chromium green opaque. And then up here, down here, a little bit down the stem, and then some of the earth green yellowish. Just over some bits, leave some gappy bits too. Stem on this one. The warm grey too. Going with a bit of the light green. And then the cadmium burnt ochre. On the left hand side. Oh, that was aggressive. And then these leaves down the bottom. Here, light green. And then they go over this bit, which, whoops. So let's try and erase that. Get another eraser. Doesn't really matter though, does it? But and then here there's like a leaf, the light green, then here, and then one here, up here, here, and then this one goes behind this. Let's go the burnt sienna, just really lightly on the left hand side, little stick. Go some of the chromium green opaque. That, and then around this one a little bit. And then over here, little bits here. Down here. And then some of the earth green yellowish. So remember leaving some like little gaps of white. Like that. Get a little bit of cream as well in here. Okay, it's pretty cute. Some of the walnut brown. Do some little lines. Up here. Over here. And then some of the warm grey too, some little lines in here. Oh my god, that dog. Okay, then we can move back up to the top of the mushroom and do finish off the top section. Okay, so I've just gone through and taped off the border because we're just going to do a little background because why not? It's just 10 by 10 centimeters. Just a little box, it's just over 10 centimeters. So don't feel like you need to add a background if you don't want to. I think it'll just look cute when we do that. But first we're just going to finish this top section of the mushroom. Because I feel like it looks weird, but I think it just looks weird because there's no background. So I think once the background's in it will sort of make sense a little bit better. So this is just the dark indigo. Yeah, dark indigo. Just here. Really lightly, just to get a little bit of a darker tone. A little bit darker up here. Some little dots over here. And then we'll go a little bit of the pink, middle purple pink. And then we can blend that down with the warm grey too. Okay, and then burnt sienna. And then walnut brown. Oh, that was too dark. Cadmium orange. Cadmium orange to pull some of this orange down. And then we'll do some of the middle purple pink just over here. Burnt sienna. A little bit more of the middle purple pink. Okay, burnt ochre. So I just don't feel like this paper is blending well at all, but I think we'll just move along. Warm grey 2, we can fine up this line here. Let's get the the dark indigo and do some more little dots in here. And then a little bit of the middle purple pink over that. Some little dots. Here, and then burnt sienna over that. Some little dots here, the burnt sienna. Okay, walnut brown. Okay, so what we're going to do is start the background. Okay, so now we're going to start with the background. We're just going to start with this little leafy section, this little vine section. So using some of the warm grey 2. So this little pink line comes out this way. Middle purple pink. And then the madder. This way. Back over with the warm grey 2. Okay, and then underneath here, there's some of the burnt sienna. So for this sort of thing, you just need to sort of break down the shapes that you can see. Pay attention to where they are in relation to like the stalk and the stem and all that. There's a little bit of green here, so some of the earth green yellowish. This way. Some of the walnut brown. Going in here. Up here, and then there's like a darker section here. Like that. Let's get some of the burnt ochre. A little bit of the chromium green opaque. And then the walnut brown. Come in here where these little vines are. Goes like this. Here, darker at the bottom. Burnt sienna, it's like a little thing here. Burnt sienna in here. And let's get some of the warm grey too and do a little bit of a base layer here. Earth green yellowish. Like that, and then black. This is the dark sepia, just because I can't see my black right now. Don't know where it is. It's not here. So black or dark sepia. Like this. Like that. And there's a little bit of a blue tone, so let's put in a little bit of the light ultramarine. Just a little blend in there. Let's get some of the walnut brown. Just go a little bit darker around this little vine. A little bit more middle purple pink in here. Madder. And then let's go warm grey too. Okay, so then let's get some of the light green and just sort of do the shapes that you can see that the leaves are making. Kind of like this. Get a little bit of the chromium green opaque. Like that, just going in between them. Like this. Like this. And then earth green yellowish. Oh my god, that dog. So noisy. Okay, and then a little bit more of the dark sepia in here. Get a little bit of burnt ochre. Get some of the walnut brown and just go a little bit smoother in here. And then so from the reference photo, you can see that the bushes come up to around here and they go under this. So we're just using the light green just to map this in. And then over here, this swoopy section goes nearly to the end of this. So we'll do that. And then it goes down a little bit and off, and then there's this blurry bit at the back. So then we'll go in, just put in some of the details in. This goes down like this, up like this, light layer here, and then some like crisscrossy sort of sections here. And then this section down here, it gets quite light in here, so we'll do a light shading here. All the way over here, light shading here. Up here. So we want this to sort of, you know, look like leaves, be like leaves, but it's not going to be the main focus of the piece. We don't want it to be like too detailed or, you know, too good. So this is the earth green yellowish, because we want people to look straight at the mushroom and be like, oh, isn't that lovely? Not, wow, look at that foliage, you know? But it doesn't mean we can't like put in some little details in that, but it just means, you know, we don't need to stress about it too much, being all in great detail. So this is the earth green yellowish. There, and then this little bitty here. Like that. Like that. Over here. Up here. And it starts to get like a little bit browner in here, so we can add some of that in after. Let's go over with the light green, blend it down. There are some brownie sections, so let's add a little bit of the burnt ochre. So here, and then there's this little bit here, and then like a loopy boy here. Some little lighter bits in here. Sort of like a little stick. Up here. Yeah. Let's get the burnt sienna. Add some little details to them. And then the walnut brown. Dark under here. So here's comes down, and then there's a bit of a darker bit like here, and then this bigger darker section here. Like that. Up here, some little darker bits. So some little sort of like triangles, and then sort of blend them out. Shows this darker bits in between. Darker bits here. Remember, all of these things go through the ugly stage. So like it looks average now, but you just need to continue on. Don't give up. It's just one of those things that it just takes a little while for it to all come together. So now we'll add some of the earth green yellowish. That's like the mid-greeny colour. In here it's quite dark green. Make sure to leave some like lighter bits and darker bits. Go around these areas, darker areas. And then let's get some of the chromium green opaque. So adding some little details here. And then the dark sepia, get a bit darker in here, or the black. I just can't find my black at the moment. Like if I had my black, I'd be using it. Chromium green opaque. up here. Here. Okay, and then dark sepia. Up here. Chromium green opaque. Chromium green, what is it? Earth green yellowish. Blend it down. And we can get the black or the dark sepia. But where is the black? Oh, it is. No. No. Here it is. Okay. Black. Okay. Chromium green opaque. Okay, and now those blurry babies at the back. Alright, so then this blurry bit comes up to around about here. So go here, here, and then the end of it comes down around about here. Then the chromium green opaque. And so when it's blurry, you want to blur the lines out, like blend the lines out. You don't want to have any sharp lines because that will make it look like it's in focus. So just blur them out, like doing like little circular motions to blur them out. Then the earth green yellowish. Same thing again, just blending it out. Black. Okay, more black in here. And we can just do a little bit blending on the side with the black. I'm just making a swatch sheet as I go because I forgot to write down the colours we're using. I'm gonna get to like making the colour sheet and be like, I don't remember the colours. Earth green yellowish, chromium green opaque, sorry. Okay. Okay, so then let's do this little bit of background. We might need to blend it down just depending how the paper goes. Well, my paper's not great. So if I'm looking on Photoshop and sort of clicking around, it does have a bit of a green tinge in the background. So what we're gonna do is go in with the black, lightly on the side. Here, going around these bits, like this. My handful of pencils down. And so remember, at the top of this mushroom is that little white line. So we're going to go around that. Make it bigger than what it needs to be, and then we can always make it smaller as we go. And then this darker section goes up to around here, and then it starts to blur out up here. So then we're going around these little green bits. Like this. Like that. Okay, so then now we can sort of see there's a bit of a green tone to all of this, but there's also a bit of a grey tone in here. So we're going to get the warm grey too and just blend this down to help like that grey tone keep it grey. So just the same sort of pressure as we did with the black. Don't go in with too hard a pressure or anything. And then it also gets grey up here too. So we're trying to put down a lot of layers so that we can blend it all together and make it nice and smooth. If you only do like 1 or 2 layers of pencil and then try to blend it, it will not blend very well. So you want to have nice thick layers to be able to blend it down well. And then we can get some of our green. So I think we'll use some of the earth green yellowish. Bring it up here. Black again, so holding it a little bit closer to the tip of the pencil, using the sharp point of the pencil and just doing the same pressure. So you don't want to go in with too hard a pressure. We just want to go in with more of a sharper pencil because it'll get the lead down a lot better. You can go in different directions and that will help to fill the tooth of the paper. But you just want to still use light sort of layers. And over here where it's sort of grayer, we're going to sort of do less layers of black. And you'll see there's like a bit of a white hue above the green, and that's just because we're leaving like a little bit of a gap around it. But we can just fill that in later, so don't stress about going right up against it right now. Up here. Oh, my dog's dreaming. Okay, and then the warm grey 2, again with the grey. Oh, she's barking in her sleep, how funny. Different directions, and then we'll do more green. More green over here. Black. So now we've got a heap of layers down, just using the sharp point of the pencil again, rotating the pencil. So now we've got a whole heap of layers down, we're getting ready to sort of blend it. Get a little bit up closer to the mushroom. Okay, and then let's blend this down with the pencil blender. So you can use any blender for this, remember, it's whichever one you prefer. So we're going to go in with more layers as well, so this is why we want to go in with soft layers, because we still want there to be like a little bit of the tooth of the paper left. Like this, really lightly in here. Okay, destroyed this pen pretty much. That's all right. Cool, and then we can move on to the next section and then come back to this one after. Okay, so we're going to move up to the top here while we wait for this to dry. So let's go in with the Warm Grey 2 and we'll just do a base layer of this because it's pretty grey up here, going right next to the mushroom. And then over here, all the way over here. Alright, then we need some yellow, so let's get the cream up here. Over here. Alright, let's go with the cadmium orange. Just on the side really lightly. And then let's get a little bit of the light ultramarine. So light ultramarine, remember, on the side nice and lightly. And we'll go up sort of towards like next to this mushroom. This way. And then up here, it's like a lighter sort of blue, and then it gets to like a darker sort of blue. this way. Alright, let's get some black. And we'll go really lightly on the side up here to start to get a little bit darker around here. Up here. Up here. Up here. And then over here. Okay, and then this way. Then we'll start to go in with a couple more layers where it's darker. So it's darker sort of on the right hand side here. And then here is like a bluey sort of glow. So we'll go just lightly over this section. And then up here there's like a semicircle. So we're only going lightly over that, and then a little bit more layers, so not heavier pressure or anything, just more layers to get it a little bit darker up here. Oh my god, my dog. Up here. So lightly over here. Okay, let's go in with some more layers of the warm grey 2. Up here. This way. A bit up here, over here. So remember as well, again, we're just trying to go in and build up these layers so that we can blend them all down. Go with some of the burnt ochre this time in the orangey areas. And it sort of goes up here a little bit. Over here. Alright, and then in the middle there's like a little bit of green, so let's go just next to here with the light green. over here. Over here. A little bit more burnt ochre. In here there's, it looks a bit browny, so let's go a little bit of the burnt sienna, just a little bit here. And then we'll add in a little bit more of the light ultramarine. In here, so not too hard a pressure again. Black. So just really lightly going around this lighter section and then blending it like nice and lightly up. So you don't want it to be like a sort of really harsh line. And then black up here. Black. So then across here, up here, couple more layers over here. Light ultramarine. Okay, so I think we'll just blend that down. think I'm going to get my Zest-it pencil blender just because it's a really big space to do. The pen is good, but it gets a little bit streaky, I think the word could be. Okay, so I've just got my brush and I'm going to use the Zest-it pencil blender liquid. But any blender you want to use is good, and it'll be nice to have like a bit of a comparison for both of them. So I'm going to start over here and just pull this up here. Up here. Just blending it in nice and smooth. So remember, if you're not happy with the way that it looks, we're going to do more layers, so don't stress too much. If you don't feel like it's working out, it's not done yet. More to do. Make sure to dry it off pretty well. Blending it in. Okay, then let's go through here and do this section. So this section is going to be a little bit fiddly because we're going to go with the black, because we're going to have to go around all of these little little branches and stuff. All of those little white bits coming off, we can sort of put them in after with the white pencil, or like that's my thought, that we could try to do that. I feel like using an embossing tool or I feel like using the embossing tool like when we go over with the solvent, I feel like we'll be able to see it, like it'll probably just go into it anyway, so there's no point putting it in. So we're leaving that little white line underneath the mushroom, the top of the mushroom, but we can make it smaller, remember? So in here, we'll put in some of the light ultramarine. So just filling this in. Going with a couple more layers. I might just sharpen this because having a sharper point will make it easier to get in here. In here, go nice and close up to the mushroom. Up here. So going in here, so just take your time, go around all the little leaves. So many little bits. And let's go in with the light ultramarine. feeling like maybe there's a little bit of green sort of on the back here. Then burnt ochre a little bit over here. Black. Through here. Okay, and then let's blend it down. Ooh. So if you're not feeling real confident to go really close up to the little leaves and stuff, don't stress too much about it. We can just go over with more layers with the pencil. Just go sort of as close as you can to them. Up here. Gently blending it in, being really careful. Just in here, using the very sort of tip of the brush. So you can see it's not real crisp, the lines, but we can definitely just go back in and do that after with the black, and then go harder in with the green, and then we can do some little white furry bits coming off the top. Okay. Okay, and so this corner is dry now. So let's go back in with some of the black, and we can sort of go up against here. Right in here. Going darker, harder up against these little bits of leaves. Going hard up against this, so putting in sort of these little details. In here. Up here. So it's a little bit greeny in here. Blue, light ultramarine, black, and here. So just blending it in. Up here. And then just start to blend it up, nice and gently. really lightly up here. So then going up against here, perfect. So also we get our white pencil, and there's some like little lighter bits here. Do that. Then a little bit of cadmium orange over it. Just so you can see like a little bit of a something something. Okay, and then we can also sharpen the white pencil. Nice and sharp, and then we can just flick off some little bits here. There's little details. Maybe go a little bit harder up against here. And then light green. Black. Some of the chromium green opaque. And then white. Ooh, too sharp. Cool. And then if you're wanting to fine them up a bit, you can go in between them with the black. Okay, so let's go back through here and continue on with some of these. So let's get the black. We can also get the cold grey, warm grey too. So let's go in here, blend this down. Let's go with the black. So really light circular motions, just going in very, very lightly, just to build up the tones really, really gradually. Just really, really softly. just really, really lightly. And then let's do some of the burnt ochre. So just make sure you're holding your pencil pretty far back on the side, and we're just really lightly glazing this down because we don't want to go in with too much pressure because we just want it to be nice and smooth. So here, then some of the light ultramarine here over this. Maybe a bit more of the burnt ochre. Some of the warm grey too. And we'll go in with the black really lightly on the side. So just really, really lightly, just blending it up really gradually. So going sort of hard up against the mushroom and then just slowly blending it up. Okay, more black up here. So then we can sort of go up against here, this little light sort of bubble going around. Black over here, and then there's sort of like a blue sort of hue just here. So we'll go in with some of the light ultramarine. Black. Then we'll just do like a light glaze over this. And then warm grey too. Light ultramarine. Warm grey too. Warm grey 2. A little bit more black. Going hard up against here with the sharper sort of point. And then blending them up. So lighter pressure over here. Really light. And then you can go over with the warm grey 2 and help to sort of smooth it down a little bit. Blend it out. Let's go in with a little bit more of the light ultramarine. Make it a bit bluer. Over there. Up here we'll do, maybe try a little bit of the dark indigo. Black. Black. Warm grey 2, blending it down. A little bit more of the burnt ochre. Okay, and then we're going to go down around the right hand side. A little bit more here. Dark indigo. burnt ochre, and then we'll move down here a bit. Okay, so black. Let's go up here. So we'll go up here, sort of tie it up against the mushroom. And then here, and then there's that white section just above. Okay, and then let's, I just need to sharpen this. Really sharp point for these little around these little details. We can also go in with a little bit more of the light ultramarine. Okay, and then right in between here with the really sharp point of the pencil, so we want to make sure that we have all of those little details in. So having a really sharp point is going to help with that. Right up against it. So just take your time going around all of these little leaves. We're going to go in after with our whiter, lighter pencil and put all these little furry bits in at the end. So in like that. Filling it all in. So darker in a couple of these bits. Then light ultramarine. Black. Some little lines in just to chop it up a little bit. Okay. Add in a couple little black bits here and there. Okay, so in this little stem we might put a little bit more of the burnt ochre. A little bit of cream. Burnt ochre. Just going to move this down. I'm just going to make this line a little bit thinner, right up against it, a little bit darker. Okay, so I think we're nearly done. If you feel like you want to go in and blend again with the solvent, you can, but yeah, I think I'm finished spending all this time on it. We can also maybe get a little bit darker under here. Maybe a bit of burnt sienna. Here. But we haven't done the little fairy bits. So let's do that now. Whoa. Just this white pencil is really small. So let's use the white Polychromos pencil. And so do a couple, flick your pencil off, really sharp point, and then sort of turn it around, so you're always sort of using the sharper point. It should go over the black pretty well. If you feel like you need to clean it off, maybe do that, because if you pick up the black and then put it back on the green, you might put the black on the leaf. Here, and then there's a couple of little and then here. Okay, some of the chromium green opaque. Burnt ochre, maybe a bit more cream. Okay, I think we're pretty much done. What you could do if you feel like you need to add a little bit more here and there, you could use a white gel pen and dot down a couple of these little highlights, which might make it look cute. But I think I'm going to leave mine at that. So now it's just time to take off the tape, and I'm just ruling around it by 1 centimeter and then using my guillotine just to cut it out so it has a nice clean border. But I really hope that you like this one. Remember to upload your attempt at this one on the Facebook group or on the Patreon chat, because I would love to see it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks guys.